everyone, my name's Riley and I'd like to extend a really warm welcome to everyone who's joining us for this National Gallery Youth Council event with Lindy Lee. Thank you for coming, Lindy.
Pleasure.
Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land here in Canberra, the Ngunnawal and Ngambri people, who have been looking after this land since time immemorial. We extend our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and we extend that respect as well to all First Nations people in Australia.
Hi, I'm Claudia. I'm a member of the Youth Council, here with my fellow councillors, Riley, who you've just met, Alfie and Nish. As members of the Youth Council, we're really interested in getting young people involved in the National Collection and a lot of the discussions that are happening today around art, which is why we've invited Lindy Lee here. Hi, Lindy.
Hi, Claudia.
So, Lindy, Ouroboros was commissioned to celebrate the gallery's 40th birthday, and it now sits in the sculpture garden on Ngunnawal and Ngambri land. What was it like to work with Ngunnawal elder Auntie Jude Barlow on this project? And what does it mean to you to have the permission of the Ngunnawal people to have this work on Ngunnawal land?
From the very, very beginning, I wanted a relationship with the First Nation people here. So from the very beginning, I didn't want it to be an add-on or anything like that. I wanted the Ngunnawal blessing, So Auntie Jude and I met and we got on like sisters. I love her dearly, and I think when you see us together, you'll see that the warmth is quite mutual. It's wonderful that Auntie Jude and Auntie Caroline are going to make a Ngunnawal women's water blessing for her, because Ouroboros is a she, And Auntie Jude actually said, she confirmed that Ouroboros is a girl. It's personally really important for me because for a very long time, I've understood that First Nations people and Chinese have had actually historically a relationship before Captain Cook. So I would love that story, between First Nation and the Chinese somehow to be a true part of this country's history. So it's fabulous, to have worked with Auntie Jude. My heart is so full of love for her.
No, that's great. She's a great person. Yeah. So I think me and a lot of other young artists would like to know, how do you create work that is like truly original and doesn't feel derivative of other stuff you've seen?
I don't know.
You don't know. Oh yeah. Fair enough.
No, it's a really important question because the idea of original, there was when I was an art student, probably about the same age as you are, the whole thing was about being original.
Yeah.
But absolutely nothing could be original
Exactly,
again.
yeah.
So every stylistic convention has already been invented, every thought has been thought, etc., etc., etc. We are living in an age where we are just bombarded by imagery. So what is one image against 1,000 million? How does that have meaning?
Yeah.
But it's also a little bit like being a human being. How does one life mean anything, given that there are many billions of us on this planet? So how does one life have meaning? So just getting back to your question, how does one create work under the conditions that everything has already been done before?
Yeah.
Is that you just be your authentic self.
Yes.
That's the only, the questions that enter your heart are the questions that you need to answer, that you need to address, and only you will do it in the way that is necessary. I just had this really, really lovely conversation with one of the young artists I am mentoring, and she was going into comparison mode. I can never be as good as, why should blah, blah, blah be, I could never be in blah, blah, blah. And I had to say, stop it. Don't you dare go down the comparison route. But the truth is that nobody can do the work that I do except me, and the same with you. So you have to be thoroughly authentic and be yourself. It always gets back to that. Total honesty about who you are and how you engage with the world.
Thinking about meaning and significance of your work personally and otherwise, maybe this is blasphemous to ask, but is there a work in your varied and diverse collection that is perhaps the most significant to you, either because of the process or because of the meaning or something else, something it references?
Every 5 years, something would just grab my attention, and that would be a material, it would be a colour or something, and I just have to work with it. because there's another question inside of me that needs response. And that's what this engagement with materiality is about. So in terms of favourite works, it's usually about things that have surprised me. Like, I didn't mean to do that, but this is the way forward. And I think that Life of Stars, for instance, which was a 6 metre, it's the first sculpture in the stainless steel mirror polish. It was the very first one I did. And it surprised me because I just did not expect, it was very simple form, just an ovoid form with, thousands of holes in the form of concentric interconnecting circles. But, her simplicity and the way the light moved through it was just amazing. And I didn't expect it. But it gave me then the direction for the next thing. So it usually works like that, that's sort of like, oh, I didn't realise that. Oh, wait a minute. But there are certain emotionally significant works, like Birth and Death, which is 100 accordion books, and there are images just of my family. And it's all in red and black, and there's a photograph of it where I'm meditating in the middle of it. And that is particularly meaningful to me because my nephew Ben, who was, I think, 22 when he died, so when he died, it was incredibly sad because, it's one thing for somebody, somebody of their time to die, an elderly person, but when somebody young dies, it really turns your world upside down. It's just not right. So a way to grieve, I guess, but a way to honour Ben was to make this work, which is wave after wave of the generations of the Lee family, and to have Ben firmly placed within the family. So that, to me, personally, is a really important work.
A lot of your work deals with identity, so personally and in talking about the collective. What parts do you see of your identity shining through your work? And do you think there are places where your work feeds back onto your identity as well?
Like identity, I used to, because I felt this actually really deep pain of not belonging, because I have this face and, I was born in the 50s and it was time of white Australia. So it was, and it was, we were even, I love the fact that you're learning Mandarin, but when I was growing up, immigrants of my generation, the children of immigrants, were not encouraged to learn their own, ancestral language, because it was felt you should be, like for me, it was like, you better just speak the English because then, you can hide a little bit of what you are. And that is really painful, because what you're doing is, what you're internalising is that there is something wrong with you, no matter what. So you have to fight, and that's like this poison and toxin that just erodes at your own self-confidence and your own capacity to be in the world. So that's a huge thing to work with in terms of identity. But then as I grew and my question changed, the question of identity is really important, but it is a very small part of what you are. Identity are just all of those things that we attribute to ourselves, like I am Chinese, I'm a woman, I'm this, that it shores up what you are. But actually, mysteriously and wondrously, you are more than any description than you can ever make. We are vaster. I love to say that, the fact of me and you goes beyond the boundaries of your skin. Your energy goes out into the world and the world comes into you. So what you are is a much more interesting question than who am I? That is important, but what am I and what is it that exists, that makes this existence? That is a huge and really wonderful question, and it's unanswerable, and you entertain it every single second of your life, and in every single second of your life there's a different and another glorious response.
Has that been one of those questions that's sat within you that's moved you to make work?
Yeah, it's been a really hard question that I've had to live with, like literally the sense of absolute no worth at all, and I think that's a very human thing, and I think I would challenge us all. Anybody who hasn't felt that actually must be not human. So it's a very human thing, and a very human, and the best human quality is to embrace that vulnerability. And I love sometimes what happens if you allow yourself to be vulnerable, that other person also can be vulnerable. So vulnerability is generosity. So all this identity stuff, it's an ongoing thing, and it's not about identity anymore. It's about what this thing called self is. And what self is this unending thing that unfolds continuously and engages with the world.
Have there ever been any other artworks that have made you, I guess, kind of realize something about yourself?
My two favourite artists, just forever, are Ad Reinhardt and Mark Rothko. So
Yeah.
I love Ad Reinhardt's work because it's pure presence, all right? It's just, do you know Reinhardt's work? Okay, so it's just black, right, initially.
Yeah,
So you've just got, a 5 feet by 5 foot square, gridded up, and it's just different variations of black, which are barely discernible. But the more you stand in front of that work and drop all of your thinking, your self-conceits, your projections, your busyness, I'm thinking about dinner and blah, 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 or, then you let this work just come forth towards you. And then you are enraptured in this moment of pure presence.
Yeah.
And that is amazing.
Yeah, that does sound so meditative.
Yeah, that's meditative. That is meditation. So you're dropping habitual thought and just entering, you are being compelled into the space and time of that work. And this is where the work and the viewer are co-creating each other.
I read that you said in Artists at Home by Karina Diaz-Perez, I think it is, you said that early in your career that you were inspired by Artemisia Gentileschi. I want to know which contemporary female artists are you inspired by now and how they influence your practice?
Okay, right in this very moment, it's Barbara Hepworth, but I'm only bringing her up because I went on a pilgrimage to her cottage in Cornwall. And her work, her relationship to her materials, every stroke I could feel. And there was just something so inspiring about the work itself. It was just beautiful. There was something inspiring about the passion, and I think for all artists, there's a huge amount of sacrifice. You have, you are directed to follow a particular path, and you have to be true to it. And I could just feel the truth of her being in all of her work, and it made me go away and just think, okay, maybe I will never be Barbara Hepworth, etc., etc. But boy, there's that passion and there's this integrity there. And my God, that is such a beautiful thing to aspire to.
A lot of your pieces, they touch on the Buddhist philosophy. So are there any teachings from your spiritual journey that have affected the way you approach art as well as just, your life and your relationship with others?
A lot.
A lot.
First one is Dogen, who was a 13th century Zen master. And he wrote the Genjo Koan, which I'm going to abbreviate, and it's just basically this: to study the self is to forget the self and be authenticated by the 10,000 things, okay? And so by what that I feel he means is that drop your self-conceits that I am this and I am that, or I am so, it's that these are all constructions. If you really want to know yourself, then meet the world as it comes. Meet it and see what it makes of you. Be genuine in that meeting. So, drop the conceits, because that's just in your head. And you can stay, as we know, you can stay in your head forever. And sometimes it's not that much fun, but you've got to, my thing or my belief is, or my experience is, you've got to break out of that.
Yeah.
To really meet with intimacy what it is in your life. So I love that expression. I love that teaching. The other teaching that I really love is only don't know, not know, okay? And that means that's not I don't know out of ignorance, like, oh, I don't know what the weather's gonna do, or, that's not the, but the genuine, in this moment, I don't know, but I am open, I'm absolutely open to whatever comes, and I will see and I will feel its veracity, okay? I won't intellectualise about it. I won't make up my mind about it already. I won't have, blah, 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 already, talk myself out or talk myself into it. Only don't know. Oh, this is good. How is this good then? So it's a genuine path of curiosity rather than I've already made up my own mind. I've already had defended my life against the world, all that sort of stuff. We all have defences. The only don't know is this genuine place of open curiosity and open-heartedness and connection.
Well, you've been talking, I was going to ask about how you balance kind of your personal experiences with something more universal in your work, because I think it is something that resonates with a lot of Australians. But the way, especially things you were saying to Riley, do you think there are experiences in your work that are uniquely personal, or do you think there is something universal in everything that people could take away, or a bit of both that you try to balance?
I think there is always a great balance between the personal and the universal in great works of art. I'm not saying I'm making great works of art, but the thing is that it's always coming back to that which is true, right? And that is not, it's not an ideology or anything like that, but that which is true, that true engagement with your life. The point is that we will all feel grief, we will all feel pain, we will all feel, if we're lucky and we allow ourselves to, we will feel the whole spectrum of what it is to be human. And that is really important.
Well, thank you for all of that, Lindy, and for sharing with us both insights about you, but also about your work. To switch gears quickly, to let us get to know you in a slightly different light, we're going to end with a round of rapid fire questions, which will be fun, I am sure. So yeah, feel free to surprise us, feel free to answer us however you like. I think Misha's going to start us off.
Yeah, so first question is, define Ouroboros in 3 words.
Birth, death, life.
If you had to design a temple, what would it look like? Or which kind of temple?
My temple would be a space of quiet contemplation where the light would shift and change through the day to mirror the flow of being in our own souls, that we could rest within and just be with and just witness our lives. And also be witness not with joy, but absolute acceptance. So in my temple, all of that would settle. It's not that it goes away because we're human, but settle just so that we can meet with a certain amount of grace and love.
What is your go-to comfort food?
Chips.
Chips are.
Hot fries.
That's what I.
Damn it with aioli.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
but a good aioli.
Chicken salt or normal salt? It has to be asked.
Sorry.
No, I'm going to disappoint the world. Chicken salt.
Okay. Well, tell us about your dogs. What kind of dogs do you have?
Well, strangely, you should bring up dogs. No, I've had up to 4 dogs at a time in my lifetime. My husband and I, because he was a Scot, we have Scottish Terriers. Rob died a few years ago, but I love being here, but I'm missing my Kevin and Mungo very, very much. And my darling little May, she died about a month ago. She was elderly, so that I'm a bit sad about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love my kids, my dog children. They're very naughty. Kevin thinks he's the centre of the universe, and he pretty much is. Yeah.
Lindy, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So I had some studio mates, Terry and Pete, and we shared studio for about 13 years. And because, I don't know, because we had seances every week, and they worked, all right? I'd go figure. But, literally, we would be holding a pencil on a sheet of paper, 3 of us, and arguing about who's eating the last Tim Tam, and the pencil would be doing what it wanted to do. And, we'd be going, no, Terry, you had the last Tim Tam, blah, blah, blah. So there'd be that kind of argument. And then we'd be asking, the pencil, something, And anyway, one day, we decided to ask our favourite dead artist, all right? Okay. All right, so I asked Ad Reinhardt to come along, all right? So Ad is also known in his day as the Black Monk because he only painted black paintings and he only dressed in black. And I love Ad. So I think, all right, Ad, come on, come and give me some. So I say, Ad, I love your work so much. I deeply revere it. What is your advice? And at that stage, I was only using black. Yep. And then it wrote, use more colour. Which was hilarious at the time because I wasn't using more colour. But as it turned out, colours appeared, but for reasons. So it was great advice.
Well, you give a lot of good advice, but what do you think is the worst piece of advice?
So when I was a young art student,
Yes.
I went to, a psychic, and he told me, oh, you're never going to be an artist.
If he's watching, have a look.
Yes, you palm reader from 50 years ago,
I bet he's watching.
Wrong.
you were wrong.
And final one, where's home for you now?
I love where I live, and that's a good question because I always felt that Sydney was my home until I moved. And then my husband Rob and I found a beautiful place in the hinterland of Byron. And this is my favourite place on earth because of the bird song, the kookaburras, the koalas, the water dragons, and just peace and calm. And the horizon. I love the horizon. The liminal space between heaven and earth. Can't beat it.
That's all. Well, Lindy, thank you so much for your time and for your openness and for sharing all of your stories and advice with us. It's been so amazing to meet you, and we've loved every second of it. It's been such a privilege to hear everything that you've had to say about your art and your journey in Ouroboros. And we hope that the young people at home have been just as inspired as we have. And be sure to check out the National Gallery's website for more videos and interviews like this. And until next time, we look forward to connecting with you in future conversations and events like this.